This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today I'm going to talk about dragon states, which is a term I've heard thrown around a bit in my training before, and my education, I suppose. But I want to sort of expand on that here shortly with you guys. And a lot of the time within either my coaching or whether it be social media or whatever it may be, there's a lot of these terms thrown around with positive and negative emotion or connotations. And the interesting thing around this is seeing that there's really, as a primary emotion, there's no real positive or negative emotions. And another way to think about it, which was introduced to me actually today in training, was the idea of an accelerator or a brake, right? And so what we deem as positive emotions, joy and love and peace, they're all like the accelerator. And, we can drive through life and experience these things. Whereas things such as sadness or nervousness or anxiousness or frustration can all be like a brake. Now, these are both necessary to drive a car, because if we drive a car with no brakes, then we know we're in danger and we'll get done for speeding, right? Whereas if we drive around a car or attempt to drive around a car just with the brakes on, which a lot of people do in life, just pumping frustration, just pumping sadness, just pumping this sort of stuff, then we're not going to get anywhere either. So it's useless both ways. We need both, and this is the push-pull of the life. Now, these emotions like sadness or nervousness or anxiousness can actually point to things in life that are really important for us to know in order to be able to make sure that we can avoid danger or really grieve over something that we have lost that was important to us. It's a very normal thing where these, negative states around an external event or around, which is called a primary state, right? So it's I feel sad about an event, about something occurring, something happening. It's when we have a negative state about a negative state, it becomes a dragon state, right? When it's like taboo to feel something, when it's I feel ashamed for being frustrated. I feel ashamed for crying. I'm angry at myself for being angry about that. This now becomes a dragon state. It's called a meta state. It's a dragon state. I'm experiencing a state, a mind-body, like emotive state around a state. A mind-body emotive state, and all of a sudden now the thing that is normal, that is very useful, the brake, is now taboo, and it's bad. And so what happens here is that we now start to really suppress or even actually oppress this sort of feeling and not letting it show up in life. And what happens then is that we actually avoid using it, or we actually end up feeling horrible and we get anxiety or we get depression around something, or we label it depression when maybe we're experiencing depressive states because we're sad about how sad we are. And that's a completely different experience than being sad about a particular event. I had a difficulty in business that I'm sad about. Okay, that sucks. That's fair enough. And then let's do something about that. I'm sad that I'm so sad about this situation. It's just like, well, okay, that's now being sad about your experience rather than sad about the experience, right? About reality. You're being sad about your experience of reality. And so these dragon states can really take a hold, and this is actually where a lot of people's anxiousness and deeper levels or heavy sadness can come from. It's also where like extreme happiness and the love of love can come from. It's not a dragon state, it's actually more of it's a meta state. I love the fact that I love you is a meta state. It strengthens the love in that, right? And I believe that's the essence of life. When I love that I love you, it's like this is a really empowering belief and state to be in. But when we grab that exact same example and turn it into a dragon state, that's when we're just trying to drive around our map of the world with the brakes pumping. And as you can imagine, that doesn't work so well, especially when we get angry at ourselves for pumping the brakes, right? So in seeing all of that, it's really being able to use this example and to use this understanding of and catch ourselves when we move into this dragon state of being, embarrassed about our frustration. Boys don't cry, or girls shouldn't be assertive, and so being assertive is a bad thing, or crying makes you unmanly, makes you womanly, or a girl or whatever the case. All of this stuff is simply just frames. None of it's actually reality, because men do cry. That's a normal thing for a human being to do, as opposed to avoiding it. In fact, if you look at it, it's actually quite manly. This is the frame I uphold. It's quite manly to really be in touch and understanding your emotions. This is emotional intelligence. That's the whole understanding of it. It's not very manly to not have a good map of understanding of your own emotions. You're really ignoring a big part of your life, and then if you're doing that, then there's a chance you're passing that on to the next generation. So as a leader, how much are you actually leading? So this is completely the frames that we choose to uphold in our life and understand, and this feeds into the idea that people are emotional. It's like, yeah, people probably should be emotional because they're human beings, and human beings experience emotions. And if they don't, they try to suppress it, and when it shows up, they don't know how to deal with it. Then it's just going to bottle up until it explodes at some point. When it's the last straw or whatever it may be. And so, really grasping all of this, we start to see that in fact there is no positive or negative emotions. We label it positive and negative. Sadness and anxiousness is just pointing at something that probably wants to change. So therefore, it's crucial for us to experience emotions that we want to experience, because it's a map that shows us, like, when we do this, we don't feel so good. It's like, right, I don't want to keep doing that, so we can do the things that we do want to do to make us feel good. It's really obvious when we see it that way. But when we start to, and let me reiterate on this again, when we start to feel sad about our sadness, when we start to be angry that, where we care so much about this person, or we're so sad about this person leaving, or, we're angry about our anger, like all of these sorts of things, and they become taboo, then these really do manifest as issues down the road. And we think that we have some sort of emotional strength, and people even get stoicism sort of put into here, of like, stoicism is this idea of ignoring your emotions. It's like, no. It's actually giving yourself permission to feel the emotions and to observe them, but not to identify as them, right? And so we get to experience sadness, we get to experience happiness, we get to experience grief and anger and frustration, but we understand that we are experiencing them. We aren't a simple emotional state. We are a human being experiencing an emotional state. And this is the difference between I am depressed or, I have anxiety. And it's not to say those two things don't exist. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is the language of like, I am. I have. Well, in reality, what they're saying is that it has them. And it's often just a form of metastating, because it's like, I'm anxious about something, that I get anxious about my anxiousness. And then I think how stupid that is I'm anxious about how anxious I am about this thing. And then I think that it's really dumb of me, and I feel stupid about the fact that I think that I'm anxious about being anxious about this thing. And then what does this person think of me now? I'm anxious about that. And so this starts to become a really, really good program the person builds, and it's called a metastate. And this is how we build the dragon state. And it literally does, it grows into a dragon. If we don't address it, it'll grow and grow and grow and grow, and then at some point it'll burn down our village if it stays into that dragon state. And so hopefully this gives you a better idea when I actually talk about slaying the dragon. Enter the forest where it seems most darkest to you. And on that note, team, I'm going to finish up. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you got a lot out of this podcast. If you haven't already, jump on Facebook, search Mood Prep Online. I'd love to see you on that. Otherwise, team, that's it. I'm out. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick. Slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.